There is an elevation where science says the human body stops being able to heal itself. Above 5,000 meters, the barometric pressure drops so low that every single breath delivers only 53% of the oxygen available at sea level. At this height, sleep apnea is nearly universal because the brain's respiratory drive falters during rest. Cuts take weeks to close. Wounds fester in the freezing dry air. And yet, if you climb past the snowline in the Ananea district of the high Andes, past the point where trees, shrubs, and even hardy alpine grasses surrender to barren slate and glacial moraine, you do not find a desolate wasteland. You find a city of metal, mud, and smoke, humming with 50,000 human souls. Let's take a closer look. To reach this place from the city of Juliaca, you have to endure a 6-hour ascent along a deteriorating mountain highway that slowly turns from asphalt into a rutted track of frozen mud and gravel. As the altitude climbs past 4,000, then 4,500 meters, the landscape empties. The llamas and alpacas disappear. The vegetation shrinks to brittle patches of Eureta moss, clinging to exposed bedrock. And then, as the track crests a jagged ridge under the shadow of Mount Anana, the settlement appears all at once. An endless sea of silver corrugated tin roofs, cascading down a sheer glacial cirque, framed by mountains of dark industrial tailings and dirty ice. The smell reaches you before the noise does. It is a sharp, suffocating mixture of unburned diesel fumes, open sewage frozen into the gullies, wood smoke, and the faint, sweet, chemical metallic tang of vaporized mercury. There are no paved roads here. The main thoroughfare is an unpaved trench of churned mud, garbage, and black mountain meltwater that freezes into jagged ice every evening and turns into a knee-deep slurry whenever the sun breaks through the midday cloud cover. Living here requires renegotiating the most basic physical assumptions of human existence. When you step out of a vehicle at 5,100 meters, your heart immediately surges to over 100 beats per minute just to maintain basic cellular function while standing still. Your chest heaves, fighting against an atmospheric ceiling that feels like a weight pressed directly onto your sternum. Every flight of rough rock steps cut into the mountainside feels like a vertical marathon. Newcomers experience splitting frontal headaches within hours, nausea that makes keeping food down nearly impossible, and an overwhelming sense of cognitive fog as the brain struggles against hypoxia. For the permanent residents, the body has had to warp its own biology just to stay alive. Blood samples taken from long-term residents here reveal hematocrit levels that would trigger an immediate medical emergency in any hospital at sea level. To compensate for the missing oxygen, their bone marrow continuously churns out red blood cells until their blood thickens into a dense, dark sludge. It is a desperate physiological trade-off. The thick blood carries more oxygen molecules, but it puts immense hydraulic strain on the heart, forcing the right ventricle to enlarge as it pumps viscous fluid through high-resistance pulmonary arteries. Over time, this leads directly to chronic mountain sickness, known locally as Monge disease, leaving sufferers with cyanotic purple lips, swollen fingers, crippling fatigue, and severe pulmonary hypertension. And yet, nobody came here for the climate. They came because buried deep within the fractured slate beneath the glacier lies one of the richest, most complex systems of hydrothermal gold veins on the South American continent. Every morning before dawn, while the temperature sits well below -10 degrees Celsius, thousands of men pull on heavy rubber boots, strap battery packs to their waists, and begin the steep trek up the scree slopes toward the mine adits. The tunnels burrow horizontally and vertically into the mountain, some descending hundreds of meters through fractured, unsupported rock. Inside, there are no modern ventilation shafts, no industrial elevators, and very little heavy machinery. The drilling is largely done with pneumatic jackhammers powered by compressed air lines, dragged thousands of feet into the dark, or by hand with steel chisels and sledgehammers. The air inside the tunnels is hot, humid, and thick with crystalline silica dust. When a miner drills into quartz veins without water suppression, millions of microscopic silica shards become airborne. Over months and years, those sharp particles settle into the alveoli of the lungs, building up irreversible scar tissue. Silicosis is so widespread here that a persistent, dry, hacking cough is simply treated as the background noise of adult life. Combined with the severe hypoxia of the altitude, lung capacity degrades rapidly. Men in their early 30s frequently have the respiratory function of 80-year-olds. Yet the work never slows down. The entire labor force is driven by an informal rhythm that leaves workers entirely on their own to survive. To keep up the brutal physical output in oxygen-starved tunnels, miners chew massive wads of raw coca leaves mixed with lipta, an alkaline ash paste that activates the leaf's alkaloids. The coca numbs the cold, suppresses the constant gnawing hunger caused by the body's accelerated caloric burn at high altitude, and constricts blood vessels to temporarily ward off exhaustion. When a miner's shift ends, his work is only half done. The rock he carries out must be processed in dozens of small, informal milling sheds scattered throughout the upper settlement. Heavy steel drums known as quimbalates grind the ore into a fine sand. To pull the microscopic flakes of gold out of the crushed rock, workers pour raw liquid mercury directly into the slurry with their bare hands. The mercury bonds with the gold, creating a dense silver amalgam to separate the precious metal. The amalgam is placed in a small metal pan or cut open tin can and heated over an open blowtorch or gas flame inside small, poorly ventilated rooms. The mercury boils off at 356 degrees Celsius, turning into an invisible, heavy toxic vapor that drifts directly into the faces of the workers, out the open windows, and into the narrow alleys where children play. The vaporized mercury settles across the entire settlement, coating the roofs, washing into the mud with every snowfall, and draining directly into the meltwater streams that feed the surrounding watershed. Because the town grew without a master plan or municipal oversight, there are no public utilities to manage this contamination. There is no municipal water grid. Drinking water must be brought up from lower elevations in tanker trucks and sold by the barrel or hauled in plastic jugs from high glacial runoff pools that sit downstream from active mining dumps. Tests conducted on runoff draining from the mountain have documented concentrations of heavy metals, including arsenic, lead, and mercury, hundreds of times higher than international safety standards for human consumption. There is no municipal sewer system anywhere in the settlement. With the ground permanently frozen beneath the surface, digging septic tanks or underground drainage pipes into the solid rock and permafrost is nearly impossible. Instead, waste is discarded into open ravines or carried downhill by surface runoff. When temperatures rise during the brief Andean summer afternoons, the thawing waste creates severe public health hazards, contributing to endemic gastrointestinal infections that hit children and the elderly hardest. And yet, despite every brutal environmental factor, walking through the central market of the town reveals a community determined to carve out normalcy against impossible odds. Along the narrow paths, vendors sit under blue plastic tarps behind towering wooden crates of fresh oranges, bananas, and avocados hauled up every single morning from the warm valleys of Sandia and the Amazonian lowlands, thousands of meters below. Small butcher stalls display fresh cuts of beef, pork, and alpaca meat, preserved naturally by the freezing air. Hair salons blast cumbia music through battery-powered sound systems. Small internet cafes operate on tenuous satellite uplinks, filled with teenagers wearing heavy down jackets, doing homework, or playing video games while breathing through scarves to block the icy wind. In the small kitchens of corrugated iron homes, domestic life is dictated by the unusual physics of the altitude. Because water boils at approximately 83 degrees Celsius at 5,100 meters due to low atmospheric pressure, conventional cooking methods fail. Stoves burn twice as much propane to cook basic staples. Pressure cookers are not a convenience here. They are an absolute necessity for survival. Without them, beans, lentils, and potatoes remain rock hard even after hours on a flame. The cold is an unrelenting, permanent presence. The shacks built of single-layer corrugated iron sheets offer almost no thermal insulation against the sub-zero Andean nights. Heating with electricity is impossible due to an unstable, overloaded power grid that frequently cuts out during snowstorms. And burning wood or gas indoors creates lethal carbon monoxide risks in unventilated rooms. Families sleep huddled under 5 or 6 layers of heavy woven synthetic and alpaca blankets, wearing full winter clothing to bed. Condensation from their breath freezes directly onto the inside of the tin ceilings, creating a delicate crust of frost that melts and drips down on them when the morning sun strikes the roof. The social fabric of the settlement is held together by an intricate web of regional migrant associations, neighborhood safety committees, and traditional religious practices that blend Catholicism with ancient Andean cosmology. High on the rocky outcrops above the town, overlooking the vast expanse of the frozen altiplano below, small stone shrines are covered in multicolored candle wax, dried coca leaves, and emptied beer bottles. Before climbing into the tunnels or ascending the rock dumps, workers stop to make an offering to the mountain itself, pouring a few drops of pure cane alcohol onto the frozen slate to ask for protection against cave-ins and poisonous gases. Nimpipli Borista. Geography of the settlement has begun to collide with the realities of a changing global climate. The massive glacier hanging above the town, which has provided both a water source and a geological barrier for decades, is retreating at an unprecedented rate. As the ice melts back, it leaves behind unstable moraines of loose boulders and saturated gravel perched directly above the most densely packed residential sectors. Meltwater lakes trapped behind fragile natural dams of glacial debris pose a constant, looming threat of catastrophic mudslides during the rainy season. Yet the flow of people up the mountain has not stopped. Every afternoon, small passenger vans arrive at the muddy lower transport terminal, unloading men and women carrying rolled-up mattresses, plastic storage tubs, and heavy winter boots. They come from agricultural towns across the highlands where changing rainfall patterns and soil exhaustion have made subsistence farming increasingly untenable. They come knowing precisely how harsh the conditions are, knowing that the altitude will strain their hearts and the dust will damage their lungs, because the arithmetic of the mountain remains unchanged. In a world where economic opportunities for rural highland populations remain severely limited, the promise of finding even a small pocket of high-grade ore represents an escape from generational poverty that no lower altitude wage labor can match. The story of life at 5,100 meters is ultimately not a story about extreme geography or medical anomalies. It is a story about the absolute limits of human endurance and the staggering lengths to which communities will go when survival demands it. On a frozen mountainside, where the atmosphere barely supports the biology of life, where the water is toxic and the cold never relents, thousands of people continue to wake up before dawn, pull on their boots and step out into the freezing, breathless air, stubbornly building an entire society on top of the world.